G'day guys, welcome back. My name is Wildkard. Super Rugby, Super Round, Blues versus the Reds, Anzac Day. Yes. The Reds had a poop emoji in front of the jerseys. What is that thing? I don't know what that is. It looked like poop. Even when they have like the close-up shot on the jerseys, I still couldn't quite figure out what it is. So someone maybe can let me know what that actually is on the Reds jerseys. But hey, despite the poop emoji, the Reds actually played quite well. Fronted up physically. Did not capitulate under pressure. Did not shit the bed and kick a bunch of penalties because we're in New Zealand and gotta take every point that's on offer against the Kiwis. Just like it was almost like they learned their lesson right against the Western Force and played more ball in hand, play with more guts and resilience, and play with less spreadsheet and goal. Spreadsheet and kicking game. And I thought overall this was a match much needed step forward for the Reds, especially following that the loss against the Western Force. This was especially impressive considering that the Reds came back multiple times, showing resilience and grit to actually push it into golden point. Unlike the Brumbies, just completely given up under pressure. Just one of the most horrendous game I've ever seen in the history of Super Rugby. It was so bad. And then the Reds actually hung in there and pulled themselves out of the gutter multiple times. Living up to the Anzac spirit in that regards as well. So really nice to see. Despite the penalty that ultimately saw the Blues game, the Reds, both teams actually had pretty good discipline overall. Have a look at the stats. Under 10, pretty impressive in terms of the count. For penalties, both teams were actually really low. So despite the Fraser McRae penalty at the end to lose the game, it was overall very good for the Reds. I thought the Fraser McRae incident was a little bit, it is a little bit tough nowadays. There was people were cleaning out from the Blues and they kind of pushed past the ball too far. And then Fraser McRae felt like there was no ruck and went for the ball, came in from the side and went for the ball. And the referee was like, nah, went in from the side, mate. No chance. The one thing that the Reds did not do well was the lineouts. Struggled with their own lineouts roads, especially in the red zone. Just like the Brumbies a little bit as well. But, again, these are the times you need to work on, right? You cannot simulate the opposition, a top level opposition, especially a Kiwi opposition under pressure. Everybody's screaming at you. The fans are looking. You cannot simulate that in training, the pressure in training. And, the only way to get better, especially for players like Fazler, you wanted to move up to the Wallabies level. This is the only way for you to get better, to really improve as a player. And, this is one of the reasons why he teams kicking penalty goals, because you're never going to give your set piece to an opportunity to improve. So I thought the Reds, they struggled, but it's good learning opportunity. In my opinion. And even with the struggle line out, they still, put themselves back. If it wasn't for the line out, the Reds probably could have won this one. If we're going to look at the statistics in their stats, the Reds actually had a better stats overall. And then just, the stats overall. And there was one interest, the thing with the line out, before I talk about something else, the Blues, when they did the lineouts inside the Reds 22, the Reds did not challenge the lineouts. They kind of just like preemptively setting up to defend them more. And then the Blues were just like, really didn't have any threat in those situations. And in fact, the Blues at one point actually scored a try by doing a dummy maul. Had the hooker crash in the 10. And then I think it was Zang Sullivan just picked and go, went through. But it's just, if you, every now and then you just have to throw someone up just to keep the opposition, you don't have to challenge everyone because you want to defend them more, but every now and then you just have to throw someone up to make sure that the opposition don't get too comfortable in receiving the ball inside your own red zone, right? Especially nowadays, the not straight throw, it's not going to be called if you don't challenge. I think it's really important for teams to challenge that a little bit more. There was some early defensive issues for the Reds. I saw Dalguni was playing outside center, so maybe he wasn't. I'm not sure if this was the third. He's definitely played outside center before, and he's played outside center for the Wallabies, but it was a little bit disconnected in defense. But the positives from that is that they actually fix the problem and manage to get themselves defensively restructured and, you know, get themselves back into the game instead of just letting the problem kind of like capitulate into a snowballing, you know, in the scoreboard. So the Reds actually fixed that, which was probably the most important part. There were some really good connections in terms of the running ball, the ball and hand game. You know, from the 4-pack, Harry Wilson, obviously always good in the offload game. But I think the one thing I was really impressive by this week was the connection between the Junkyard Dog, Tim Ryan, and Joel Campbell at the fullback position. So the two players worked really well to support each other in the offload game. I think there was at least one try scored as a result of this. So yeah, really, really good to see there from the Reds as well. Ben Volavola. I think this is the second game for the Reds. I think he made his debut for the Reds against the Fijian Dura. And he looked really good, I think. In fact, I thought it was surprisingly good. There was one point where he did a double touch in the back line, set up for a try, for overlap for a try. He passed the ball to one of the forwards, and the forwards backdoor the ball to him, and then he ran around, looped around to create an overlap, and it was just actually, really, really impressive in my opinion was. But the one thing that I was actually expecting him to do really well, which was a goal kicking, he missed one from the side, and it wasn't even close, so probably out of practice a little bit, maybe. But yeah, it was, definitely interesting to see that Volavola playing for the Reds, and I'm pretty sure he hasn't played for Fiji for a number of years now, and he's born in Australia, so could potentially be caught up for the Wallabies if he, keep on putting out, if he put on some pretty good performances coming out for the Reds. I doubt it. He will make the Wallabies, but he's definitely potential. He's definitely potentially available for that. For the Blues, Zang Sullivan was looking outstanding this week. He's almost looking like a bully out there in the center position, just massive and just asserting his dominance, asserting his speed. The Beauden Barrett was able to utilize him in space quite a few times with some really nice passes. Papali'i in up front for the Blues was outstanding this week in terms of the breakdown and turnovers. But yeah, overall the Blues was asserted the physical dominance, and the Reds held on, which was the really, really important and impressive parts from the Reds, especially the Blues is known to be one of the most physically imposing teams, especially in the 4-pack. Was able to hold on was definitely a nice feat, especially when you're holding on to that and then also being able to bounce back to level the game against the physicality was just something that I think was really, really good to see. So there was a bit of an interesting moment in the game. Apparently, and I did not know this, so you can tell me if this was actually something that you know. If you have the feed in the scrum and the scrum just goes down and the referee tells you to use it, you can actually decline and ask for a repack on the scrum. I did not know that. So the Blues did this. There was a Blues scrum feed. Obviously, the Blues like to assert the physical dominance, and one of the ways they do that is to try to get a scrum penalty out of you. The Reds actually didn't consider any scrum penalties. I don't think they did. But there was scrum, and then the scrum just went boom, straight down. No one's at fault, essentially. And the ball got rolled to the back of the scrum, and the referee's like, use it. And then Finlay Christie was just like, we want a repack, mate. Repack. And the referee's like, yeah, okay. Because it's your feed. We're going to do a repack. And then the referee's like, yeah, it's a bit cheeky, but they're apparently allowed to do that. Did you know this was a thing? Did you know this was a thing to just ask for a repack? But yeah, I thought I like that. I think that, if you're a team and you think you can, especially, right, if you're getting the penalties, sometimes teams go for the scrum inside the opposition 22, and then they wanted to milk a penalty, right? And then the scrum goes down, whether it's cynical or not. The referee just goes, use it, and you've lost your advantage. You've lost everything, and I think to be able to just decline and ask for another scrum is actually makes a lot of sense. But this is the first time I've seen the halfback going, no, I'm not taking the ball out. I want a repack. Technically, it's not. I don't know. Yeah, technically, it's not a penalty to not take the ball out, right? And yeah, it's technically right. Like, it's not if you don't take the ball out, it's not a penalty. There's no law against not taking the ball out out of the scrum. Unlike it's not like the Rock where the referee says use it, you have to take it out. There's no such law for the scrum. because you can literally keep the scrum for as long as you like, run all the way down the field and score a try if you want. But yeah, so that was interesting, but it kind of makes sense. And I think the Blues showed that he can something that he can probably use to assert scrum dominance. Anyway, I think that is all I wanted to talk about for this game. Oh yeah, just one last thing was interesting as well. The line-out more earlier in the day before, the Waratahs actually did this where the maul comes down, no one engaged the maul, and someone just ran around the back and try to sack the ball carrier or grab onto the ball carrier from around, because there's no maul, there's no offside line, so they can just literally run around the back and just grab the ball carrier from behind, or maybe even engage him from the back, or maybe even bait the players to send the ball back before they engage, to cause a obstruction. But that was interesting because the Waratahs game, the ball was indeed fed back before the maul was engaged, but no one bumped into the players in front before the player ran around and grabbed the ball carrier at the back. So that was no penalty for obstruction because the maul, no one actually ran in front to obstruct. I think that's what happened. But this one, the Reds did the exact same move, around on the back to grab the ball carrier. And yeah, it was just I think there was a penalty against the Reds, and then the maul was set, and then there was a penalty against the Reds for another player entering from the side, the second player entering from the side. Yeah, interesting. I mean, it's funny because we haven't seen this all season, and suddenly 2 Australian teams are doing this. I think maybe like the players got together and had a drink and talked about this during the week or something. Two Australian teams doing this was interesting to see, to say the least. But yeah, maybe the Reds took the inspiration from the Waratahs earlier in the day, in the previous day. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. The Waratahs one, I still quite understand what the penalty was for. I think it was there was a breakaway or something, but yeah, the Reds one is definitely a second player entering from the side, I think the referee said. But I think the idea is good, but they needed to kind of like adjust based on what's happening, right? If the ball was fed back, you run, you don't engage, everybody kind of run around, and if you see the ball getting fed back, you just bump the players in front, and that's an obstruction, right? And the ball was, and if the ball didn't get feedback, you go around the back, you grab the back end to prevent them from feeding the ball back, and then you engage the front, right? So I think that the timing was a little bit, the players didn't quite understand how they wanted to approach this, right? So if the ball was fed back, you bump the front for the penalty. If the ball wasn't fed back, you go back and grab the potential ball receiver, so they couldn't feed the ball back. So that's I don't think the execution was quite correct for both teams, right? Both teams. So anyway, let's have a look at the match stats of the game. 5 tries apiece, 571 run meters for the Reds, for the Blues 425. So Reds had more run meters. 29 defenders beaten for the Reds and to the 20 for the Blues. More defenders beaten. Turnovers conceded. Blues conceded 15 to the Reds 13. So less conceded turnovers. Tackles pretty similar. 165 for the Blues, 163 for the Reds. 29 missed tackles for the Blues, only 20 for the Reds. Right? So the stats were better for the Reds. 38 kicks for the Blues, 30 for the Reds. 1 missed conversion for both teams. 1 penalty goal at the end. 3 charge downs against the Blues. Yeah, there was quite a few in front of the goal line. Like Harry Wilson got a couple. 1 at least. But yeah, there was a few there was 2 charge downs back to back actually for the Reds. 889 kick meters for the Blues, 880 for the Reds. Let's go down a bit more. Lineouts, no loss for the Blues. 4 lineout throws lost against the Reds from 10. 3 scrums for the Blues, no loss. 5 scrums for the Reds, no loss there as well. Penalties overall, not too, like, this is at like world class. I know Super Rugby referees are probably a little bit looser when it comes to the calls, but still, the amount of penalties given out is very, very low. 5 for the Blues, 7 for the Reds. So it's not like, the Fraser McRae, yeah, it was just, I think that was just a little bit misjudged. But you live and learn. You live and learn, Mr. Fraser McRae. But yeah, overall, I think this was a very, very needed performance from an Australian side to finish off to finish off all the Aussie teams for the week. We've still got, the Landers and Fijians and, coming up this week. I think Landers is playing Moana Pacifica, Fijians playing Chiefs. So no Aussie teams today, but yeah. So anyway, let's do a quick recap of the game. 6 minutes in the game, the I think there was a line out, and then Bowden Barry essentially got the ball, fed the ball to Zhang Sullivan. What happened here? Oh, the Zhang Sullivan was on the wing. He did a bit of dummy and ran straight through the defense. 7 points to nil. A bunch of missed tackles there in front of him. 7 points to nil for the Blues. 9 minutes into the game, the Reds comes back. There was a nice break from Delgunu, and then there was a penalty right in front. Reds taking the tap. Bunch of piling in, pick and go. So eventually Fraser McRae drives over for the try. 7 points to 7. 15 minutes into the game, there was a high ball and he got slapped back for the Blues, and a bit of a confusion. The ball was spread out wide to Forbes, ran in for a try. The Reds defense was completely out of position and a bunch of missed tackles there. 14 points to 7. 23 minutes in the game, the Blues backed themselves for a penalty, went for the line out, they went for the maul, got a penalty advantage. The ball came out, little backdoor play to Bowden Barrett, and then the flat pass to Zhang Sullivan, bumps over Delgunu. Huge physicality from Zhang Sullivan, relatively for the try. 21 points to 7 for the Blues. 31 minutes in the game, the Reds had their own line out, some crash ball center field, and then there was a long ball out wide to Joel Campbell. He was down on the wing. As he was getting pushed out, pops ball back in field for Harry Wilson, who ran in for the try. 21 points to 14. And just before halftime, 35 minutes on the block, on the clock, the Reds once again building a lot of midfield pressure, kept it really tight, and eventually the ball was spun out wide to Joel Campbell, who ran into with space in front of him after all the defenders been drawn in. 21 points to 21 halftime. Second half, 2 minutes in, the Blues were asserting the dominance. They had a line out. The maul was faked. The ball was popped out for the hooker to crash into the 10 channel and pick and go. And I think this was Zhang Sullivan, was it? No. Dalton Babali picked and go, went in for the try. 28 points to 21. 45 minutes, Kalani Thomas had a pick and go himself. Almost got through. He dropped the ball on the try line. 62 minutes, the Blues once again backed themselves. They went for the line out, went for the maul, and then this maul went forward about 10, maybe even 15 meters to go in for the try. 33 points to 21. 74 minutes, the Reds reserves are on the field and making an impact. Ben Volavola was setting up this play. He passed the ball to, I think, one of the front rowers or maybe one of the forwards. It was looped back to him. He ran around, creating a bit of an overlap. The ball was passed to Pritchard, who ran through. One-handed offload to Campbell. He'd run down the sideline, pass the ball back in field to Tim Ryan, who ran in for the try. 33 points to 26. And 80 minutes, need the try for the win for the Reds. Some nice little kicking down the field chase. Forced the Bowden Barrett for a poor exit. The Reds had a line out inside the Blues 22. They went for the maul. They got a penalty advantage. The ball came out. Volavola ran in, almost got the try. He got blocked by the goalpost, literally. And then the ball was fed back, and Wershon picked and go for the try. 33 points to 33, and then going to golden points, and then the ball kicked out. Wershon exit. Only got to the 10-meter mark inside their own half. So the Blues had 40 meters walk to score, just build a lot of pressure, and eventually the penalty was given out by Fraser McRae, and Bowden Barrett popped this one through. 36 points to 33. Very close. I consider this a draw. I think this was a very, very good performance by the Reds, especially a bounce back that is much, much needed, and a lot of ambition that was shown out there. So overall, I'm pretty happy. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Like and comment, subscribe, and see you guys a bit later for more reviews this week. I think the Jura game, I'm definitely gonna review that. So watch out for that. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Cheers.